What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the vlog. For those that are new here, my name is Eric, and this is my 2022 M340i xDrive. And right here, I have a full factory carbon fiber roof from a crashed G80 M3. In today's video, we're going to be cutting this out and putting it onto my car. Alright guys, starting off, we have to go back in time to when I purchased this used carbon fiber roof from a company called NADI AUTOPARTS, based out of Sacramento, California. They sell all types of parts from crashed BMWs. If you guys are interested, there will be a link in the description. My dad helped me unload the roof, and this is really our first time taking a look at the roof. We're inspecting for any damage and kind of coming up with a game plan for how we're going to separate this from the pillars. After watching a few different YouTube videos, I think I have a pretty good idea. Like I said before, this roof is from a crashed G80 M3, not an M340i. In the US, M340i is not available with a factory carbon fiber roof, only the M3. I'm pretty sure they're the exact same roof panel, but I guess there's only one way to find out. We're starting work on the actual roof by removing all of the leftover pieces from the crashed M3. We need a blank canvas to start the real process of removing the roof panel. You can see here I'm removing the old wiring harness. The harness was cut when the roof was removed and is completely junk. Now I'm removing the old airbags. In the accident, both curtain airbags were deployed, which generally means this was a pretty severe accident. After that, we're going to start taping up any of the bare metal edges where it was cut off the crashed car. These edges are still very jagged, and we don't want to cut ourselves when we move this around the shop. I'm also taping up some areas underneath where we're going to be cutting the glue to separate the roof. Next, I'm going to remove the roof antenna so we can swap over all the internals from the M340i. These antennas are held on with polyurethane glue from factory. To remove it, we're using a heat gun and a pry tool, working around all of the edges until it's finally separated. The last bit of cleanup we need to do is removing the old windshield. I'm using a specialized reciprocating saw with a windshield blade attachment. This isn't necessary. There are a lot of different glass removal tools available for cheap. It does just make it a whole lot faster. And just like that, we have the entire roof cleaned up and ready to start the difficult process of removing the carbon from the metal. Alright guys, so this is it. This is the full carbon fiber roof from a crashed G80 M3. So you can see it still has the side pillars intact. They actually just cut it off around the windshields and around the sides to leave this metal structure in place so that it's more secure for shipping. These roofs are readily available for people that want to do this swap. So if you guys are interested, keep an eye out on eBay. I was able to pick this one up for $500. So I think if you're able to find one of these for that good of a deal, it's totally worth it. So in today's video, we're going to be prepping this carbon fiber roof to go to the body shop so that it's perfect and ready to go after we get the roof off the M340i. So we're going to be heating this up and separating it with some pry tools. We're going to try and go all the way around the edges and separate this from the metal, be able to pull this carbon fiber roof up in one piece, hopefully without damaging anything. Alright guys, so let's take a look at this roof and talk about how this is actually glued on to the metal structure. You can see right here, there's actually two different types of glue, this black one and this gray one right here. this gray glue is actually super hard. It hardens into a super strong bond and is not flexible at all. This black stuff right here is very flexible. It's basically just rubber. And these two different types of glue come off in different ways. We used a blade to slice through this black and it's now separated. But now this gray glue is all the way around this edge. You can kind of see it poking out right there. All the way around this edge that's what's holding on the roof. So I've seen some videos and read that this stuff is really hard to get off. One tip that I've seen online is actually to use heat. So we went and bought some tools. I went and bought a new blowtorch as well as a couple of scraper tools that we're going to use to try and put in between the carbon fiber and the roof, and you use the torch to heat it up. So hopefully that works. We're going to be going around the whole edge of the entire roof, heating it up and prying it back and trying to get it separated from the metal structure. You can see here I'm using the blowtorch and the drywall spatula with a hammer. That actually ended up being the best combination of tools to get this glue separated, and it does take an insane amount of heat. So you are going to need something like a blowtorch to heat up the backside of the metal and basically melt the glue without heating up the carbon fiber too much. Our goal here is to get the glue separated without damaging any of the carbon fiber. So I'm trying to keep the chisel against the metal as much as possible and just separate the metal from the glue, and we can worry about removing the glue from the carbon fiber later. That'll keep the chisel out of the carbon fiber and hopefully stop us from damaging any of it. All right, guys, so we got a ton of work done on this. We've got the entire front and entire rear of the roof separated. We're now going to start work on the sides, trying to get all the glue separated all the way around. There's a couple things in the way that we're going to be removing. This cross brace is one of them, as well as these mounts for the airbags. These are actually riveted in, as well as this cross beam being riveted in. We're actually going to be reusing this piece on my car, and we're going to rivet it back in. This isn't structural, but this is there to keep the carbon roof from folding in or buffeting in the wind. So we're actually going to be taking this, and this goes right where the sunroof is, so it's not there from factory if you have a sunroof, but with a carbon roof, they put this piece in. So in order to separate this glue behind the cross brace, I'm actually using the reciprocating saw again with the windshield blade. This cross brace is held on with that same black polyurethane glue that's used to hold on windshields and a lot of other things on cars. So a tool like this, or even just a regular razor blade, can cut right through this black glue. We're now going to take our drill and start slowly drilling out all of the spot welds that hold in this cross brace. We're trying to go through the metal without taking out too much material and just enough for the spot welds to be released. All right, guys, we finally just got this cross brace out. It was a ton of drilling to get these spot welds out, as well as a ton of cutting underneath to get the glue separated. But for the first time, we can finally lift this piece out right here. You can see exactly where the glue is on the back sides. You're going to be cutting through all of these and then drilling through the 3 spot welds on both sides. Another thing you guys might have saw that I had to do was bend these tabs up. So I went underneath and bent these tabs so that they can come out of these little holders on the side right here. But this piece we're going to be swapping over into my M340i. It's funny, if you actually look right here real close, it's stamped on this piece G20. For those of you that don't know, G20 is actually the chassis code for the 3 Series M340i, and the M3's chassis code is actually G80. This is a factory G80 roof, but it comes with parts that say G20 because these are interchangeable. The roof structure is completely the same between the two, and really just the body is different, as well as the engine being different in the G80 versus the G20, but they're built off the same chassis, and that is evident by this little marker right here that says G20. So we're going to slowly keep heating these, and we're going to slowly get the chisel in there and separate this entire carbon roof from the rest of this metal structure. After getting that center cross brace out, we got everything cleaned up. With that out of the way, we can try and get the chisel between the metal and the carbon fiber. This proved to be much more difficult than I originally thought. With the chisel in there, there's just no room to swing the hammer without hitting the carbon fiber, and I didn't want to risk damaging anything. So I think we're going to have to switch up our strategy. And by that, I mean break out the angle grinder and just go ahead and cut the entire side off the pillar. This was extremely challenging because aluminum is really hard to cut, and you do need some specialized blades in order to get through the aluminum without bogging down. Because the metal structure is made out of multiple layers of metal, we actually had to come around to the backside and cut through this layer in order to try and separate the entire pillar from the carbon fiber roof.
Whew. That sucked.
And that did suck. That was an absolute ton of work to get that whole side cut off, but now we actually have a path forward. With that side pillar cut off, we can now see exactly what we're doing while heating up the metal and sliding the chisel down the side. This made it 10 times easier to be able to swing the hammer and get the leverage needed in order to separate the glue. We're going to keep working all the way down this side until the entire thing is separated from the carbon fiber, using the blowtorch to heat up the glue and slowly following it with the hammer and chisel until the entire edge is separated. Without taking out the angle grinder and cutting this entire side off, I really don't know if we would have been able to get the chisel in there without damaging the carbon fiber. We used some clamps to temporarily hold the roof in place to make sure nothing moves. And again, we're going to break out the angle grinder and cut down this entire side, trying to stay away from the carbon fiber as much as possible and not get anything too hot so that it melts or catches on fire. We also had to flip it over once again and trace out the back side of the metal in order to get the entire thing separated from the roof. Once again, we got to break out the chisel, hammer, and the blowtorch and slowly work our way all the way down the entire edge, trying not to damage any of the carbon fiber and getting all of the glue separated. This is our last and final edge, and once we get to this corner, the entire thing will be separated from the metal structure. All right, guys, so we have spent the last few days basically with this chisel, hammer, and the blowtorch separating this metal from the carbon roof. We had to take an angle grinder and cut both sides off in order to get access to be able to cut the glue all the way around without damaging the carbon fiber too much. So I think this is fully separated. I just took the clamps off, and now we should be able to lift this metal structure right off of the carbon fiber roof. Whew. This has been a ton of work, but I'm super excited for this. Let's go ahead and take this part off. So now that we have the metal structure separated completely, you can see actually the different areas and the different types of glue. So we have this gray panel bond glue all the way around the outside. It runs the entire edge all the way around. And then we have this black seam sealer right here just to stop some vibrations between the roof and the structures right there. So there was one sneaky one back here that I had to get in there and cut after separating everything else and get it from the back. But other than that, everything was pretty straightforward. You just want to be really careful about trying not to get into the carbon fiber too much. There was some areas like this where we did dig into it a little bit, but we didn't make it all the way through. So we shouldn't have an issue. We should just be able to add a little bit of body filler on these to smooth them out and shouldn't have an issue. You'll never see it ever again once it's panel bonded on. Once we drop this off at the body shop, then we can start working on the interior of the M340i, taking apart the headliner and everything else inside, including taking it off the front and rear windshield and prepping for this carbon fiber roof install. With the roof fully separated, we can go ahead and get it cleaned up. And we're actually going to be taking this over to a local body shop to have the entire roof re-clear coated and prepped, ready for install on the M340i. All right, guys, just like that, we got the carbon roof separated and sent off to the body shop. It's going to be a little bit before we get that back. So in the meantime, we're going to start working on the M340i. There's a ton of stuff we have to do to prep to install this carbon fiber roof, including removing the factory roof rails, the front and rear windshield, the headliner inside, and the entire sunroof assembly. It's going to be a ton of work, so we're actually going to be saving that for the next video. If you guys want to get notified when we upload, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss when we upload our next video on the M340i carbon roof swap. But just like that, this video is over. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. If you liked it, hit that like button, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.